Alrighty, everybody, we're going to make a main menu for our simple 2D platforming game. And this main menu, you can implement this in about the same way in any game you make. Our main menu is going to include an instructions screen and a start button. And maybe you can also add a story page that just gives the story of your game, so that someone has a place to kind of understand what your game is about. Right now, we don't have any of that. We don't have any real main menu or anything. I have a couple of random UI elements. I have this coin counter that goes up. I have this random Messi that I put from the students told me to put that. But this is our game right now. What we're going to start with to add the main menu is we're going to create a new scene. A new scene. When our game opens up, it's going to open up to this new scene. To add a new scene, let's go to our scenes folder in our project window. And let's right-click in this scenes folder and create a new asset. I'm going to right-click in the scenes folder of my assets folder in my project window, and I'm going to create a new scene. I'm going to create a new scene. I'm going to name the scene main menu. Now I'm going to leave my game. Let's say bye to Mario. I'll hit Control S in case I forgot to save anything. And I'm going to double click on this main menu scene. And this is going to take us to our new empty scene. All our work for today is going to be done in this new empty scene. I mentioned this already, but this new empty scene needs let's do 3 panels. Let's do 1 panel for the main menu. Let's do 1 panel for the instructions. And let's do 1 panel for the story. I'll show you what I mean by panels right now. I'm going to right-click in my hierarchy window in some empty space, right-click, and I'm going to create UI elements, and I'm going to create 3 panels. Panel, I'm going to call this panel instructions. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to create a new UI panel. That should not have been created in instructions. I need to create that in the canvas. This second panel, I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call it story. And then in my canvas, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to create a third panel, UI panel. And I make sure all 3 of these panels, and I'm going to call this main. I have story, instructions, and main. Now, right now, I might not be able to see some of my panels. So if I press F, it focuses on this panel. So again, if I'm zoomed in weird, I can click on the panel I want to focus on and press F. Right now, that's all of these panels. And if I change their color, so story's on top, so I see story. So if I change its color, that looks like it's working. Or maybe they're transparent, so okay, they're transparent. Forget about what I'm saying right now, it doesn't matter. It does kind of matter. Right now, we could see all 3 of these panels are stacked on top of each other. I have this red one, this green one, and this gray one are all stacked on top of each other. I want to remove the transparency, which might take me a second, and I might not be able to do it, and I'm going to leave this bit in because mistakes are part of it. Okay, I'm going to click on the color, and I'm just going to set the transparency, the alpha, to 255 for all of these, just so that they're not transparent. So alpha is going to 255. And now what that's doing is now I can't see the other panels. I can only see my main panel because it's at the bottom. If I want to work in my story panel for a little bit, I can click on main, and I can click on this active button. This check mark here is called active, is active. If I check on this box, now it's grayed out. Now it's inactive. Now it's not in my way. I can do the same thing for instructions. I'm going to gray it out. Now it's not in my way. Now I just have this story panel. So this panel is going to have a few things. It'll have a button to go back to the main menu. Maybe it'll have a button to go to the instructions. And maybe it'll have a little image and something describing the story. Some text. I'm going to change the color. This color kind of hurts my eyes. I'm going to have like a more muted, lighter color. More of like a pastel. And I'm going to right-click on my story panel, and I'm going to add UI text, Text Mesh Pro. Now we've already added text, so we shouldn't have to import. But if you don't have a Text Mesh Pro folder, you will have to click Import Text Mesh Pro. Now I can add a text to my story. I'll write the story of my game. This game is about SpongeBob escaping from Super Mario World 1-1. He needs to overcome this obstacle to be reunited with his best friend Patrick, who awaits him at the end of each level. That's fine. That could be the story of my game. You could write an actual lore. You could say like, oh, in the fallen kingdom of Faerun, the last champion of the, elf people needs to reclaim the great sword of the gods to slay the demon prince who has enslaved his family. You can have like whatever kind of lore you want. But this will be my simple story text. I can also add images. I'm just gonna go on Google Images, as I do sometimes, and grab a random image. Let's grab an image of Patrick and SpongeBob. This is copyrighted. Make your own images. I don't know. But I'm just going to grab a random image. I'm going to save image as. This is WebP. I need to save it as all files. I'll save it as a .png. And I will drag that PNG into my art folder. And I will put this PNG onto my... Oh, it didn't work. So I can't drag a PNG directly onto my canvas. I need to right-click on my panel. So I'm going to go to the story panel. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to go to UI, and I have to add a UI image. There it is, raw image. This is my UI image. Right now it's all white. But let's say I put it somewhere. I can drag in this image to the texture field, and now I have an image on my UI. You guys should try to add some UI images to each of your UIs. So this is my story. I'm going to add 2 buttons to my story page, and then I'm going to move on. I'm going to right-click my story panel. I'm going to create a button. I will create a UI text button. Button Text Mesh Pro. And I'll have this be my button to go to the home page. And since I put it in the top left corner, I need to make sure to go to this anchor section, and I will anchor it to the top left corner since that's where it is. Otherwise, if I'm on any different screen resolution, this button will get lost. I'm going to hit Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. Now I have 2 of these buttons. I'll bring one over to the other corner. You can do your UI however you like. This is just an example. I'll do a slightly different UI format on the instructions page. Now I have 2 buttons in these corners. I'll have one to go back. I'll just call this the back button. So in the button, I'll go into its text, and I'll just write back. I can change the font if I want, so I can make it bigger. I can change the colors if I want, so I can, oh, whoops, I'm editing the colors for different, oh, I'm changing the material. Whoops, that's my bad, I shouldn't have done that. So I can change the colors if I want. So I can change the word back to red. I can go to the button itself, and I can change the color of the button itself, which is the background. And I can give it maybe it's black on red on black, whatever. And maybe in these words, I'll also add maybe a little pointer arrow. That doesn't look good. I'm just going to leave it as back. It's also not resizing correctly. Oh, because it's not resizing the whole button. I'm clicking on the text, and I'm resizing the text. I need to resize the whole button. Okay, that's going to be my back button. That'll be my back button. Back to menu. Now I'll create another button over here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open up the button and look at its children. I'm going to look at its text, and I'm going to write instructions. And maybe I'll set this font size also to be a lot bigger. Not that big. And if I stretch out here, I'm selecting the text, so that's going to break my button. I need to make sure I'm selecting the button, and I'll resize the whole button. And I'll change the background color. Maybe instructions can be like blue themed. I like these like pastels. If you go all the way up and towards white a little bit, I think they look pretty nice. Instructions, I'll leave the text red, black. The text being black looks fine. Maybe I can go into the text and I can change the outline to a color to maybe make it stand out more. Maybe I could add a shadow, an underlay. I'm just doing this just to show the feature. So now there's like this red shadow behind my text. I can move the red shadow around different directions. So that's just some stuff I could do. I'm actually not going to use this green outline. It looks terrible. Let's do... we could have it like fade to red. That's fine. It's good enough. It's whatever. I'm just showing us that we can try different things, that we can try different features. And I did that to the text material, which made it happen to all of my text, which I did not intend, but I think I might just keep it. Yeah, this is the text material, but that's fine. That could just be my text material. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's whatever. That's just going to be what my text looks like now. That's okay. So we have this first panel. This can be my story panel. I'm pretty happy with this. We're going to do the other two panels the same way. I'm going to go a little faster. I'm going to go to my instructions panel, and I'm going to add text. I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to add two buttons, UI text, UI image, UI button. And I'll copy this button, and I'll put, you know what, I said I would do it differently. I'll do a centered set of buttons. I'm going to copy this button, paste this button, move this copied button down a little bit, and those will be my two buttons for this page. I'll put the image over here, and I'll put the text over here, and I'll say W is nothing. I have, right now my instructions are space to jump. I have A to go left. I have D to go right. Jump. We should avoid enemies and spikes. We should collect coins by touching them. Go right to reach the goal. So this is a simple game, you just go right. So these are my instructions. This is my instruction page. I will put another simple picture in here. You know what, I'll just put a picture of Mario. That's fine. Mario's not actually in my game anymore. I replaced him with the very poorly animated SpongeBob, but that's fine. Alright, the button for the background, maybe I put these coin blocks since it's like a Mario game. That could be cool. It could look also pretty bad, but we're going to try it for here, for just our slightly different button theme. And these two buttons, let's make sure they are centered. I'll line them up from the top of the screen. So there'll be this distance from the top of the screen no matter how big the screen is. Which means like if I'm playing this game, and I shrink my screen down. Uh-oh, I only did it for one. The other one's moving off screen as I shrink my screen down. I don't want that. So let's make sure this is also locked to, whoops. I was selecting the text, not the button. Let's make sure this is also locked to the top of the screen. Just make it work a little bit better. And for our text, we can have it aligned over there, seems fine. And for our Mario, I'll align him over here on this right side of the screen. So now, no matter how big I make my screen, no matter what device I'm playing on, the rough positions of my elements should be pretty correct, which is great. I'm going to rename the text on these two buttons. Let's make this text bigger and bold and dark so that we can read it. Let's do instructions. And we're going to have to make this button bigger to fit that word. And let's change the color of this image. Let's increase the transparency a little bit, just so we could read it better. And let's do the same thing here. Let's make this image in the background of the button. So I'm clicking on the button, I'm selecting the button's color, I'm making it a little bit transparent so I can read the text. And I'm going to stretch this button out a bit because I know that it needs to be a little bit bigger. And I'm going to go to the text. I'll increase the font size to like 50, and I'll say back to main menu. Okay, that'll be another screen. We'll do one more panel. We'll do the main menu panel. So I'm going to deactivate my instructions. I'm going to activate my main menu. Now I can see what my main menu looks like. Let's do like a sky blue main menu. It doesn't really matter. And you can also use an image for the main menu, by the way. If I wanted to make the main menu like this Mario background, I could do that. So I'll do that for the main menu. That seems fine. I just dragged in the background of my game to the source image for my main menu, and now my main menu uses this. I will add 2 UI elements. I'll add 2 buttons, maybe 3 buttons. So I'll have a button. I'll have a UI button, and I'll click it one more time, and I'll have a UI button. And these oh, whoops, that's text, that's not a button. Main menu, right click, UI, button. I added 3 buttons to my main menu. These buttons are going to do 3 different things. First, I'm going to make sure that they are, let's see, they're aligned to the center of the screen. I'm going to put them to the center top. That should be fine. And I'll actually put this one from the, no, I won't do that. I'll also put it from the center top. Okay, so these are my 3 buttons. I'm actually going to name my 3 buttons just so I know what they are. This first button, which is this one down here, I'll make this I'll rename this to play game. This next button that's in the middle, I'll rename this to the instructions, rename instructions. And you can see which button you're selecting when you click on them, so make sure you're naming the one you think you're naming. And I'll name this one story. Now the button's text doesn't actually match what we called them. So I'll go into the text and also change it to, play game. I'll change the text of instructions to instructions. And I'll change the text in the story to story. Now our UI is all done. Everything is working great. The only problem is we don't have a script. We need to create a UI controller script. My story is not moving the same way as my instructions or play game, which I don't like, so let me just check those before we move on. This is top center, this is center, this is center. Now they should all move together. Okay, they do a pretty decent job. It's good enough. It's okay. Nobody's going to play on a super stretched resolution like that, hopefully. Actually, let's make them a little bit better. Let's move them up. They'll look better if they're moved up a little bit. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay. Alrighty, so these are my 3 buttons. We need a new script. So once you're done creating your UI, you should have these 3 panels, and we want a script that simply does this. We want a script that toggles on the panel that we're currently looking at. And I'm going to align this image to the right side of the screen. And I'm going to align this text to the center. So that the screen resizes better. Okay, that looks a lot better. You should always check that your UI is kind of scaling in a way that you like. Maybe because of this error, I'll actually move this over a little bit and keep it on the right side. You should always just double check that your UI is scaling in a way that you like. Yeah, this is pretty robust. This is working pretty well. Okay, so we need our script to toggle on the panel that we're currently looking at. So if I'm looking at the story panel, I should only have the story panel active. I shouldn't also have instructions active, or instructions blocks my story. So I would need instructions off. So it's going to manage that. It's going to toggle on only the one we're looking at. And we also need it to have functions on the buttons so that when I click on the button, it goes to the panel that that button is supposed to go to. Let's write that script right now. I'm going to go to my Schoology page. And I'm going to go to our Classroom AI. And I'm going to ask the AI, I'm going to say, I need a controller for my main menu. This controller should manage 3 panels. These were panels. The panels are called instructions, story, and main. The controller should have functions that are called by the buttons to display these 3 panels. Finally, we need one more function to play a scene when its button is clicked. This is the start game button. So I'm being very clear with it. I'm using my vocabulary. I'm saying that I created these 3 panels. These panels are, here's what they're called. I need them to show up when I run certain functions, when I click certain buttons. Let's press enter. It's going to ask me if I already have a controller for this. Do you already have code for this? I'm going to say, provide the full example. We want to be very clear. We want to use our words. Set up your scene. Make sure your 3 panels are named main, instructions, and story. Main, instructions, and story. I did that. Add UnityEngine.scene management to use scene loading. That I'm not sure about. I might have to double check with the AI. Create an empty game object called main menu controller. Okay, that's what we were doing. We're going to go to our scripts folder. We're going to right click. We're going to create a new mono behavior script. In our scripts folder, we're going to create a new mono behavior script called, what does it want me to call it? Main menu controller. Let's call, oh, whoops, this script is broken. I named it new mono behavior script by accident. I'm going to delete it and get a new one. I don't want that. I don't want to deal with that issue. It's going to cause problems later. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to create a new mono behavior script, and I'll call it main menu controller. Now I have this main menu controller. Okay, this is the code for it. I'm just going to copy this code in. And we're not in a coding class. I'm going to tell you what this code is going to do. It's going to make references to each of the panels. So these are our reference variables for each panel at the top. So these are our reference variables for each panel at the top: public game object main panel, public game object instruction panel, public game object story panel. These reference variables are how the code knows which game objects we're talking about. And then it has some functions to show each panel that we want to show. And when I show a panel, it hides, it sets active false the other panels. It has one more function to start the game. That's it. These functions will be called by the buttons in just a moment. We saved our script. We have our main menu script. In this main menu scene, I'm going to create an empty object in my hierarchy. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to create an empty object, and I will name it menu controller. And I will drag in my menu controller into the menu controller object. Now this script has empty it has empty reference variables. We need to drag the game objects into these reference variables. So the main menu goes to the main menu reference variable, the instructions menu goes to the instructions panel reference variable, and the story panel goes to the story panel reference variable. Once we drag these three panels into the script is going to be mostly working. Now we need one more step. We need to set up the buttons. Let's test the script first. Let's see, how can I test the script? Well, I know that the first line of code in the script says, well, the first function, I guess I should say, is void start. When the game starts, show main panel. So if this script is working, when I start my game, it should show my main panel, even though it's hidden. There's my main panel. But my buttons aren't working. I need to do one more step with each of my buttons to get them working. I'll toggle on my panels one by one. I'm going to click these buttons, and we need these. On click. For every button, we're going to click on the button. For every button, we're going to click on the button. We're going to go to its on click. We're going to hit plus, and we're going to drag in the menu controller. And we'll tell it this is the play game button. So we'll say main menu controller, and we're going to find the start game function. So the play game button will run the start game function. We have to do that for each of our buttons. I'm going to keep going. For the instructions button, we'll add an on-click function. This is the function that it will run on click. We're going to drag in the menu controller so that it knows that it's going to run a menu controller function. We're going to pick a function from the main menu controller, and this is my instructions button. So I'm going to run show instructions. Show instructions panel right here. So this button will show the instructions panel. And I'll do the story the same way. I'm going to add a main menu controller function called show story. Now when I press play, each of these main menu buttons will be working. If I press instructions, it takes me to the instructions page. If I press story, it'll take me to the story page. If I press play game, this function's not working. Invalid scene name. Okay, I need to put the scene name into the code. So let's look at my main menu. Oh yeah, there it is. So invalid scene name, load scene name. This needs to be the name of your scene object. I'm actually going to rename the scene world 1-1 with no spaces. And I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it in here. And I'm not going to put this minus sign either. I'm going to take that out. So I'm just going to call it world 1. I'm just going to call it world 1 because I think that minus sign might get me messed up. Let's try hitting play game again. And now that my script matches the scene I'm supposed to open, let's see if it works or if I get an error. Okay, I'm getting a build index error. This is annoying. I need to go to File, Build Profiles, Scene List, Open Scene List, Add Open Scenes. So now that process will fix that. So again, I went to File, I went to Build Profiles, I went to Scene List, I went to Add Open Scenes, which added the main menu to my scene list. My main menu should be Scene 0. And now when I press play, hopefully, if I click play game, invalid scene name, an invalid build index, invalid scene name. I didn't save my code. My code isn't saved, so I didn't use my updated scene name. I didn't save my code. These are common mistakes that I see students do all the time, so I'm glad I'm making them so that you guys can see what not to do. We want to save our code. Now if I hit play game, beautiful, it starts my game. This is the goal for today. Our buttons all work. We can hit play game. I'm going to do the last couple of steps, but you guys can finish this. I'm going to go to my instructions page. I'm going to go to my instructions panel by toggling off my main menu, toggling on my instructions, and I will set this instructions button to on click, main menu controller, and we will do a main menu controller. This is the instructions button No, this should be the story button. I named this wrong. This should show the story panel, and I'm going to rename it story, and I'm going to change the text to story. And then my main menu button is going to on-click. It's going to run a main menu controller function, and it's going to send us back to the main menu, so it should show main panel. And then last but not least, we have our story panel. I will set story to active. I'll click this instructions button, and this should on-click, main menu controller, take us to show instructions. Show instructions, and the main menu button, same thing. Add an on-click, give it a reference to the main menu controller, run a main menu controller function called show main menu, show main panel. My instructions button is not named. I should name my buttons in here. So this is story, this button over here is main, just so I know what my buttons are doing. This button is my instructions, so I will rename that to instructions, and this button is main menu. And now I am entirely, completely done with this lesson. We're going to click through the full UI, and hopefully you guys can do this too. So I'm on a main menu. I can go to instructions. I can go to, from the instructions page, I can go to story. From story, I can go back to instructions. From both of these pages, I can go back to the main menu. From the main menu, we checked all of our buttons. They all work. I can press play game to start my game. I'm actually going to do one more thing. On my main menu panel, just because I think it'll look nice, I'm just going to add a animation for SpongeBob running. Oh, but I can't add it directly to the UI, so maybe I won't do that. I'll just add a big Mario right here. Oh wait, I have to add main menu, create a UI, image, and I'll just add a big Mario right here just because I think it'll look a little bit more filled out. Okay, you can also add a title actually to your game. That's one thing I forgot to do. So I'll do that right now. I'm going to go main menu, I'll add a UI text, and I'll make this way bigger. And you know what? I'm just going to put it down here. And I'm going to center it. And I'm going to lock it to that bottom of the screen. And I will set the text to be a lot bigger. Let's do font size 100. And let's call it, Sponge Mario Run. Sponge Mario Runner. And for some reason it's not centered. It should be centered. Alright, looks fine. I'm going to set this guy to the bottom of the screen. Okay, looks pretty good. That is my finished main menu and UI with my title. And I will do an underline on my title. Okay, that is it. So if you guys need any help, make sure to let me know. I'm going to hit Control S to save, and I'm going to exit out of Unity. I am done. Good luck, have fun.